What's up, guys? My name is Elias, and after seeing Superman for the third time in theaters, I felt like I was finally able to gather my thoughts and give you a full on spoiler review. Spoiler warning from here on out, but if you haven't seen the movie, then just stop what you're doing and go watch my spoiler free review, or just go and watch the movie and then come back and watch this. It's been a long time coming, so let's get it. James Gunn hit the ground running when ushering in a new era of the DCU as DC Studios' Superman wastes no time dropping us right into the universe at large. We are introduced to the DCU via a Star Wars style text crawl that uses the number 3 a lot. 3 centuries ago, yada yada yada, 3 decades ago, 3 years ago, 3 weeks ago, and then most prominently 3 hours ago, a metahuman called the Hammer of Baravia attacked Superman in the city of Metropolis. Then 3 minutes ago, Superman lost a battle for the first time. I thought it was pretty significant that Gunn used this number specifically because it kind of feels like the third era of the DC cinematic universe, with them kind of vying for solo movies at first and then attempting a somewhat shared universe with the DCEU, which unfortunately failed, and finally creating a cohesive universe where everything can intertwine with this new DCU. So, third time's a charm, as they say. And though it almost feels like we're jumping into season 5 of a TV series, the movie kind of expects you to know Superman's origins and at least half the characters, along with accepting that this new world is filled with giant monsters and superheroes galore. Nevertheless, we start the film with Superman landing hard near the Fortress of Solitude. He's beaten, bloodied, and wheezing in serious pain. Yes, this is a less invincible Superman than we're used to, but I believe this is a younger Superman with the potential to grow stronger. In the comics, Superman is only ever as powerful as he really needs to be in any given situation, so that kind of leaves room for his strength to increase with the more appearances that he makes throughout the DCU. But Superman is then dragged to the Fortress of Solitude by the goodest boy Crypto, who seems like he just wants to play all the time, no matter how rough he may get. This iteration of the Fortress of Solitude is inarguably the most comic accurate we've ever gotten on screen, complete with sentient robots and ocular sunbeams, which Superman uses to heal up. And he's only soothed by recovered footage of his Kryptonian parents who sent him to Earth with a wholesome message of doing the ultimate good. Once Soups is good and healed, with his bones and joints being put back into place, he zooms back to Metropolis to face the Hammer of Baravia, who seems to be able to match him in strength and speed. This is where we're introduced to Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor, who is just drinking haterade all day, every day, and seeks to tear down the Kryptonian by any means necessary. I really dig this version of Lex Luthor. I think he is just a really petty, envious butthole, and I think that is like kind of the coolest way you can portray him on screen, especially in a world like this where you really do get to understand eventually why he hates Superman so much, but he's so over the top with it that it just fits this kind of world so much better. Anyway, once Soups is knocked down back to the ground, he's helped by this falafel cart guy, Molly, which is just really cool to see regular people love Superman so much that they want to be the ones to lift him up for a change instead of the other way around. But it's then revealed that Ultraman, Lex's lackey, is the metahuman behind the Hammer's helmet, which thrusts forward Lex's true intentions, a plot to take Superman down once and for all. Shortly after, we're introduced to Superman's mild mannered alter ego, Clark Kent, as he navigates his way through the busy streets of Metropolis and into the Daily Planet, where we meet his main colleagues, Riz Master Jimmy Olsen and the love of his life, Lois Lane. I really dig David Corenswet's Clark Kent. I just feel like we didn't get enough of it. He's literally in like one or two scenes as Clark Kent with the glasses and everything. So I'm still reserving judgment as far as like if he's the best Superman in the sense of being able to be both Clark Kent and Superman. But I mean, he does play it well in the one or two scenes that we did get him in. Rachel Brosnahan's take, by the way, on the classic character is near perfect as she seems tough as nails, questions everything, and has an uncanny chemistry with Clark, even with his glasses wearing persona. In this scene in particular, we do see on the television that the president of Baravia doesn't sanction Superman's actions in the invasion of the country Johanpur. I'm probably mispronouncing the heck out of that, which prompts the Daily Planet team to become skeptical of the supposed takeover. After tensions between Baravia and Johanpur, I'm gonna keep botching it, so just bear with me. After tensions rise due to Superman's interference in their ongoing conflict, Clark mistakenly lets Lois, who knows of his true identity, interview him as Superman, where she really just allows him to have it, questioning him at every turn in every way about the actions he should have taken instead of the actions he actually took. To me, this entire conversation is what makes Corn Sweat shine and stand out from the rest of the Superman actors before him. His deep love of people and belief that everyone's life is truly precious makes him naive to his well intended actions. He so clearly states that he doesn't represent anybody but himself. He does want to do a good thing, the right thing. But in a world where there are no absolutes, there is no black and white, but only shades of gray, Superman seems more innocently naive than ever. People were going to die, he frustratingly yells at Lois. A sentiment she can understand, but just can't help but question due to the reality of it all and just who she is as a reporter and a person. But this is where we truly get to understand the love that they have for each other because no matter how opposite they are, they just can't help but understand and challenge each other to be their best selves. Clark walks out though as the couple have their first big fight, so we literally just witnessed Clark and Lois's first fight in the DCU. I guess it's an iconic moment. A giant kaiju then comes into the mix as a distraction for Superman, designed by Lex Luthor as he infiltrates the Fortress of Solitude alongside Ultraman and the nanite-infused Engineer. As they're destroying the Kryptonian robots and discovering the Man of Steel's true origins, Lex reveals the real reason why he hates Superman. In but so many words, he makes him and every other being on the planet feel inferior, setting human advancement back, according to the bald headed business mogul, which has always been a thing that Lex Luthor has stated and has been driven by in the comic books. So this just goes to show you why I love his version of Lex even more. He's written so well by James Gunn. I think Gunn just kind of understands that this character is just the biggest hater in the world and just the most misguided genius ever. Meanwhile, in Metropolis, Superman is assisted with the giant kaiju by the Justice Gang, who is made up of Green Lantern, Guy Gardner, who Nathan Fillion seems kind of born to play, by the way. He's a constant collaborator of James Gunn. Eddie Gathegi's, I think I'm pronouncing his name right, his Mr. Terrific, who is easily the most boss character in the whole film and easily probably the biggest standout as well. And Hawkgirl, who doesn't really do much, but Isabel Merced plays very well for what she's given. Again, she has a couple of cool lines, a couple of cool action scenes, but her character isn't necessarily fleshed out throughout the whole entire movie. But this scene alone really allows Superman to shine as he kind of goes out of his way to save a child, save a woman, even save a squirrel, which is just showcasing David Cornsweat's undeniably likable take on the last son of Krypton. He even tries to plead with the rather rugged Justice Gang to find a way to keep the kaiju alive and take it somewhere far away to study it, but Mr. Terrific instead advised to explode the giant monster's intestines, which disheartens Superman. You really can't help but like this guy's goodwill toward all living things. But this is when we find that Superman's origin may not be as pure as he originally believed, due to the dirt that Lex inevitably found on the Kryptonian involving Jor-El and Laura Vaughn's hidden message to Kal, which was that he was actually sent to Earth to rule over the humans and become their god, almost effectively turning the world against Superman, seeing him as an invading alien instead of the hero that they all know and love. Basically, they're Viltrumites from Invincible, and if you haven't seen that show, that's a show you need to get up on. But same principles. The Justice Gang then confront Big Blue as if to almost believe the footage, which prompts Guy to get in Superman's face, which made me laugh because Supes would body him, but I do appreciate Guy's balls of steel. But Superman realizes that the only way the hidden message was decoded was if someone infiltrated the fortress, so he flies like a bat out of hell out of there. Once he arrives, though, he sees the robots are torn to pieces and that Crypto is missing. An enraged Superman knows exactly who's behind it. Lex Luthor. So he crashes into Luthor's building, demanding to get Crypto back. I mean, he low key loves that dog, no matter how bad he says he is. Unfortunately, Lex kind of knew that that would happen, so he had Eve Tessmacher, his girlfriend, record Superman snapping to make him look even worse in the public eye. This guy is just conniving. But this does prompt a funny TV interview with John Cena's Peacemaker where he's talking about the incident. And I mean, I'm just assuming this is the Peacemaker from season two, which explores the DC multiverse, and not the Peacemaker from season one, who was a part of the Zack Snyder's, DC extended universe. But I guess we'll know more come August when the show actually drops. James Gunn kind of hinted recently that we have to watch season two of Peacemaker to kind of see where everything is going with this universe. So I'm sure it's all going to tie in. But it was a hilarious scene. He just talks mad ish about Superman. I mean, it caught me off guard that he was even in this, but James Gunn loves Peacemaker, so I'm actually really not that surprised. Lois and Clark have a wholesome exchange where he tells her he loves her. But due to a warrant out for his arrest, he turns himself into the authorities in a naive way because he does not believe that the government could be so corrupt that they would turn him over to Luther with his Planet Watch, plans going on in the background. And you gotta love this guy. I mean, he really just wants to believe in the best in everybody. But he also does do it too because he feels like he'd be able to find crypto, and that's his main goal for doing such a thing. Accompanied by Frank Grillo's Rick Flag Sr., who's actually set to make his next appearance in season two of Peacemaker and made his first official appearance in the DCU in the animated Creature Commando show, which was also really good. You should go check that out. But he is Superman. Superman is hostilely arrested by Ultraman and Engineer, who throw him into a pocket universe created by none other than Lex Luthor himself. The dude can just recreate the Big Bang and create a whole nother universe because that's the logic of this one. Here, Superman discovers that Krypto is being held hostage along with Superman's cellmate Metamorpho, who's weakening Superman with kryptonite against his will. And Metamorpho's infant child, Joey, is also held hostage. Yeah, this dude does not care. Lex Luthor will kidnap babies. I mean, the man is an absolute savage. Um, I love that they got Anthony Carrigan though for from Barry and Gotham to play Metamorpho because every single role he's in, he gives it his all. But those two roles in particular, where he played, I forgot his character's name in Barry, but he was hilarious. And in Gotham, he played Victor Zsasz. So he's got already a little bit of DC history behind him, and now he's playing an even more prominent role in this universe. So this is an intense scene because Lex pretty much divulges everything there is to know about this prison, and he tells Superman that he has no intentions of letting him out alive, and that's the only reason he's been saying all this. And he has no intentions of letting Crypto live either. They're going to do tests on him and kill him. I mean, this dude is straight savage. But then he uncovers a hostage outside of Superman's cell, which turns out to be the falafel guy, Molly. Lex murders Molly in a game of Russian roulette with the conniving Baravian president by his side, which is an important scene for the DCU going forward because it displays just how unhinged but calculated Lex is and how far he's willing to go and sacrifice his soul just to get what he wants. Superman's shriek of helplessness is absolutely heartbreaking as a life being taken before his eyes just crushes him to his very core. I love this Superman the more and more I talk about this movie, and I love this Lex the more and more I talk about it too. Metamorpho, having reacted terribly to seeing Ali killed when he could have done something about it, musters up some emotions inside, and he vows to help Superman escape from the prison only if he's able to rescue his son Joey. Back in Metropolis, Lois travels to the Hall of Justice. Let's go, baby! To urge the Justice Gang to break Superman out of his prison, to which they refuse to do due to their reluctance in getting involved with politics. Mr. Terrific, however, agrees to help check out the Pocket Universe, if only to make Guy Gardner mad. It was hilarious when he said it. On a side note, seeing this mural of the Justice Society in the Hall of Justice was just awesome, as we now know that the likes of Wildcat, Hourman, Jay Garrick, and Spectre, among others, exist in this version of the DC Universe. And I am here for it. James Gunn, please, Justice Society prequel, ASAP, get on it, man. Please. Getting back to normal, Metamorpho helps Superman break out to save Baby Joey and Crypto, just to end up fighting a bunch of Luther goons across a rainbow stream that looks like something straight out of Mario Kart. A Rainbow Road, you know what I was talking about. While all that is going down, Lois and Mr. Terrific open the portal to the Pocket Universe, of course, after Mr. Terrific beats up a bunch of Luther goons himself in one of the coolest one-shot fight scenes ever to happen in a comic book movie, set to the backdrop of 5 years' time by Noah and the Whale. James Gunn knows his needle drops. It was just awesome and a strong contention for Terrific getting his own solo series sometime soon, which James Gunn has talked about. Um, I'm here for it. He was, like I said, one of the biggest breakouts of the whole entire movie and easily the most boss character of all time. But Superman, Baby Joey, Crypto, Metamorpho, they all end up escaping the prison with the help of Mr. Terrific and Lois. Clark thanks Lois for coming back to save him, and I just had to mention that because it goes to show you that Lois is ride or die for this crazy comic booky chaos Clark is constantly involved in. And it's just pure wholesomeness. I love their dynamic. It's dope. The ultimate hater, Lex, on the other hand, is so freaking furious about Superman escaping that he not only creates a trans-dimensional rift in Metropolis as part of his plan to draw Superman out, but also throws a pencil at his girlfriend Eve, who has the hots for Jimmy Olsen, so she offers to help Jimmy foil Lex's plans by sending him some sexy selfies, but more on that later. But after being afflicted by kryptonite poisoning, Superman retreats home to the Kent farm where we meet Ma and Pa Kent, who are exactly what I'd pictured Clark's Kansas-born parents to actually look and sound like. They have the southern accent and everything. We did meet them earlier in the film when Ma Kent was speaking through the speakerphone, like just shouting, and Pa Kent was just tinkering with something. And it was a really cute scene, but now we really get to see them a little more fleshed out as they interact with Clark in person. Clark does get some words of wisdom from Pa Kent, as Pa Kent has always been good at in the comic books and the movies. And he does say this: parents give their kids the tools they need to go into the world and make fools of themselves. It doesn't matter what was intended by the message his Kryptonian parents meant for him. What matters is what Clark took out of it, his actions, his choices. That's what defines him. That's what makes Clark Superman. It made me tear up the first time around because it's such a beautiful sentiment that a parent's love for their child far exceeds what they necessarily want for them. Because at the end of the day, what they really do want for them is to just figure it out for themselves. And I thought there was something really beautiful in that. But as if I wasn't emotional enough, a broadcast of the war in Jordanpur, again, butchering that name, plays on the TV with Clark. His parents, Metamorpho and Hawk Girl, are all watching it at the same time. And with my favorite moment in the movie, a little kid raises a flag in the air with Superman's symbol on it. The theme plays. The village starts chanting his name, Superman, Superman. And a chill just ran up my spine the first time around. Tears were in my eyes. I mean, at the end of the day, this is what Superman is all about. He's someone who inspires hope in everyone. He's someone who inspires everyone to do good. And I think just John Murphy's theme, his twist on John Williams' score, it just tied everything together. And it was just a very beautiful moment in an already beautiful looking movie. A T-Sphere does then appear on Clark's door begging for Superman's help with the rift in Metropolis. Ma Kent goes, I cleaned your boots, I'll go get them. And then boom, the movie's breakneck pacing just goes full throttle from here. But now we're finally in the third act in the Battle of Metropolis. Chaos ensues, destruction is at every corner. A building begins to topple as cars rush to escape the bridge it's about to fall on. One such car gets stuck, and as the lady counts her final moments, suddenly the building stops with none other than the big blue Boy Scout holding the entire building up, just to none other than help her escape. He emerges from the rubble, aura farming like crazy in one of the coolest Superman shots I've ever seen. Dude, the more I talk about this movie, the more I just love it. I mean, I've never been a ginormous fan of James Gunn's cinematography, but he really picked some dope shots in this movie, dude. Like, really dope shots. Iconic shot that I know will kind of just be burned into my brain for a long time to come. But back at the Daily Planet, Lois, Perry, and Jimmy figure out that the sexy selfies Eve was sending him actually had Lex's plans in the background that explicitly stated how he tried to become king of Baravia and orchestrated everything to frame Superman and make the world turn on him. Using Mr. Terrific's ship, they zoom away from the chaos while getting ready to post a story about Lex's deception. Um, it's a really cool scene because Cat Grant, Steve Lombard, and some other reporter that doesn't have any lines throughout the whole entire movie, they're in this ship and you get some really humorous exchanges. They're about to like fall off the building, and Steve is like, "Oh God, why? Where's my seat?" It makes me laugh every time. But it just goes to show you how Gunn's levity in his movies, sometimes he goes over the top with it, but sometimes he just picks that perfect sweet spot. And I think he really did that with the scene. But the action gets underway as Engineer and Ultraman are sent after Superman to where he actually tries to plead with them to stop their BS, that they don't have to do Luther's bidding and be bad guys, but they're not trying to hear any of that. This guy is almost too good, right? Only by tag teaming him, though, do they really have any chance of fighting Superman and giving him a run for his money. But when Engineer tries to fill Superman's lungs with nanites, he flies her and Ultraman up into the sky and then back down into the tunnels of Metropolis. With the Engineer unconscious, Superman now has only Ultraman to deal with, and now the big plot twist reveal here is that Ultraman is Superman's clone. Dun dun dun! Honestly, I saw it coming from a mile away. But it does explain why Lex was able to get into the Fortress of Solitude, and it also explains why someone like the Hammer of Baravia was able to beat the crap out of Superman, essentially. As Lex reveals his entire reasoning for wanting to kill Superman through Ultraman's suit, Superman tells Lex that he called in some friends to take care of the war in Jurhanpur. I'm sorry if I'm butchering this, guys. I really don't know how to say that word. But the Justice Gang swoop in to save the day. Green Lantern literally flips off some tanks, and Hawk Girl drops the President of Baravia from the sky, being like, "I'm not like Superman." She really gives no Fs. And if anything, even though she didn't have much to do, that scene just cements that she's going to be a problem in the future. Gunn then uses some dope camera work to follow Superman and Ultraman's battle throughout the tunnels and into the chasm of the rift as Metropolis is slowly being consumed by a black hole. I know this movie just gets more comic booky by the second. I love it. Like it's unashamedly, unabashedly a comic book movie, and I think we need more of this stuff in today's society. I'm getting older. I'm not getting any younger. This is the kind of movies that I want to see going forward. I love the realism of like the Dark Knight trilogy. I love the more grounded takes on like Superman and Batman Superman and stuff like that, but I really do dig this kind of vibe and feel of just we're throwing everything from the page onto the screen. Enjoy. When the battle seems to be lost, though, and Lex is just yelling 1A, 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 and making Ultraman just beat the heck out of Superman, Superman whistles for Crypto, and the goodest boy Crypto comes for the assist, and Superman's able to pop his shoulder out, swing Ultraman into a bus, and make him go into the black hole. So sick, so dope. Um, and I'm assuming that Ultraman's going to come back at some point. It might be this DCU's version of Bizarro or something. If he doesn't, I feel like that was just a wasted opportunity because now you did the clone and now you're not going to mess with the clone ever again in the stories. But I think that'd be cool if they kind of go that route with it. And with an army of Luther goons on their way. By the way, they're called Raptors. I keep calling them Luther goons throughout this whole entire video. They get a name. They're called Raptors, but I just think Luther goons sounds funnier. Uh, but with an army on their way, Superman flies up and knocks one's teeth out with the assist of Crypto again, and then lights up a bunch of Luther goons with his heat vision. So sick. Even in the trailer, I was like, "Oh, they're doing this with his powers. That's awesome." And Crypto is just biting and attacking these fools in the background. But Superman and Crypto end up flying Mr. Terrific to Luthor Corp, where Superman tackles Lex through the window and gives a hopeful, albeit somewhat forced, speech to Lex, wherein he says my favorite lines in the movie. They've always been wrong about me. I get scared, but that is being human, and that's my greatest strength. He even tells Lex that he still has hope for him too. After not even 30 minutes ago, he saw him shoot Molly in the head. This man is just too good, bro. He's too good. But Lex comes at Superman with some BS as usual, and Crypto was not trying to hear that. So, in Hulk fashion from the first Avengers, he proceeds to beat the brakes off of Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor's like, "Help! Get him off me!" It was hilarious. Honestly, Crypto would have killed him, but Superman was like, "Dude, chill! Like, stop! What are you doing? Don't kill him." Mr. Terrific then closes the rift because he's gosh darn Mr. Terrific. And after Jimmy posts a story regarding Lex's plans and Lois getting the evidence into the proper hands, a TV broadcast finally exposes Lex Luthor's real side, making the world at large turn on him instead and putting Superman back in the public eye as the hero they all knew that he was. Lex cries, Soup smiles, Eve jumps in Jimmy's arms, Lois and Clark hook up, Crypto makes some new friends with some monkeys, Metamorpho hilariously joins the Justice Gang. All is right with the world again. And it's just kind of like a beautiful bookend to that whole entire journey. So Superman is healing up at the Fortress of Solitude. The Kryptonian robots are all fixed, they're functioning. Excuse me, I just ate some ice cream earlier. And this is when we finally get to see the true owner of crypto. When Millie Alcock from Game of Thrones House of Dragons, when Millie Alcock's messy as heck Supergirl comes crashing through the ceiling asking where her dog is. Crypto rushes at her and begins to slam her onto the ground to where she's just laughing and she's loving it. And calls her cousin Superman a biznitch and leaves with Crypto, ensuring that we'll definitely see her again in her own solo movie. It comes out next year, which I'm actually pretty hyped for, seeing as how Jason Momoa, who played Aquaman, is coming back to play Lobo. If you don't know who Lobo is, look up the character because I don't know too much about him either. He's a Zarnian who's pretty much immortal. He has a bunch of different powers. He's a problem for Superman. So this is going to be like a real epic space adventure, her solo movie next year, and I'm really excited to see her in the role as well because she was dope in Game of Thrones, and this is going to be kind of like a punk rock, a real punk rock version of Supergirl. I'm hyped. I'm hyped. But then Superman, with the help of his main robot, Four, who's now named Gary, he requests to be shown footage of his parents, which always soothes him, right? Like in the beginning of the movie. Except this time, we see Clark watching footage of Ma and Pa Kent raising him up throughout his childhood. Um, you may not have seen it coming, but Superman's character arc comes full circle here, where he realizes that even though he is technically an alien from another planet, his human side is what makes him who he is. Superman smiles. I smile. We all smile. So I do feel kind of bad for anybody who expected James Gunn to do something crazy and tease the future of the DCU with the mid and post credit scenes. But I did have a feeling from the jump that he kind of just wanted to simply do a standalone Superman movie with the potential for the universe to be expanded in case the movie didn't really do well. But because it's doing extremely well in the box office, I mean, it's already made its production budget back in the first weekend. So we'll definitely get to see more of the DCU, especially with David Cornsweet contracted to do a second Superman movie. And yeah, I have no doubts that we'll be able to get more. But the credit scenes they don't really do much by way of teasing anything. So the mid-credit scene just kind of shows Superman and Krypto hugging it out. They're on the moon, they're looking out at Earth, and this was a still that was actually released way back when by James Gunn himself. So kind of weird that he made this a credit scene, but I guess to the majority of the masses, the general audiences, they never seen this specific picture before. So I guess he was like, "Hey, I want to show you guys this." I just feel like it's something that they could have, maybe added somewhere in the movie, like a little scene of him talking to Crypto. They're looking at Earth, maybe even in the beginning of the movie instead of having him have his butt kicked in the beginning of the movie. But I get why they did that. I get why they made that choice. It's just kind of jarring that this little 2 second, 3 second clip was a whole credit scene that we waited like a minute or two to see. I don't know. The post credit scene just involved, a funny interaction between Mr. Terrific and Superman regarding the rift that happened in the movie. How the building is, off now, it's crooked, or I mean, it just looks weird. Superman makes a comment, Mr. Terrific gets kind of PO'd, and then Superman's like, "Gosh darn it, I'm such a jerk sometimes," which is just kind of, emphasizing that aw shucks kind of side of Superman that we haven't seen in a while. And I almost feel like this could have been the first credit scene, like the mid credits one, where you kind of see, the aftermath of everything, and then maybe at the as the post credit scene, you do that whole Supergirl tease, because then it would have just been like, oh, okay, so that's what we're alluding to next is Supergirl, whereas putting it in the movie itself as like in the ending just kind of is like it just felt like James Gunn was just kind of throwing everything into one movie just to not only see if it sticks, but just to be like, hey, if I don't get to make another one of these movies, then at least I did everything I wanted to with it, rather than just holding it to just a credit scene. But I don't know. I'm just kind of trying to think in the vein of the MCU because they kind of started that. Um, you tease something, and then the next project is that, or we at least see that one or two projects down the line, like and it was just weird how he structured that whole those three specific scenes: the Crypto Superman hugging, the Mr. Terrific Superman one, and the Supergirl one. I just feel like that could have been structured a little differently, but it didn't really bother me per se. Just something that was kind of an afterthought as I was thinking of this review. But as far as my overall thoughts, I mean, I guess I would say that it's been a long time coming since this movie was announced back in 2023 when James Gunn took over DC Studios with Peter Safran, and I've kind of had to slowly come to grips with the fact that we're never going to see Henry Cavill back in the red and blue, with Black Adam's cameo being the last time we're ever going to see him, and it is upsetting. I think Cavill was set up to be a very his next iteration would have been the more hopeful, bright Superman that we're used to, that I enjoyed seeing from David Cornsweet. It's bittersweet. Like I said, I did love this movie, but a part of me just wishes we had gotten at least one more Justice League movie just to close out that whole arc that Zack Snyder was setting up. But again, I am happy that we at least got this version, and it does seem like DC is just going in the right direction. Like I was definitely skeptical about Gunn's approach to one of my favorite superheroes of all time, seeing as how he was mainly used to writing about like misfits and monsters. But I was pleasantly surprised. It just warms my heart to know that we now have like a lighthearted, endearingly charming, and wholesome Superman film for a new generation. Everyone was perfectly casted. The action was exhilarating. The special effects were mesmerizing. Everything about it was nearly perfect. If my only gripe was that there was a couple of scenes that almost got me emotionally, but were kind of undercut by a bit of the humor that didn't quite land for me, which I mean, James Gunn is kind of known for. Kind of one of the reasons I didn't like Guardians 2 all that much was because every single dramatic beat was kind of just undercut with a joke and a stupid one at that. But I think James Gunn did his thing with this one, and once I heard a little kid walk out of the theater singing the Superman theme song like loudly and proudly, that's when I knew that DC was finally in good hands. Not for nothing, I don't believe I remember, coming out of Man of Steel with a little kid going, you know, that Man of Steel theme. But from this one, it just seemed like from everyone from kids to adults to the elderly, like they just loved this movie, and it's just good to feel hopeful again. It's good to feel good again and want to be kind. And I like that this movie really stressed like do the right thing, be good to others, be kind to others, and let's just be humane. That's how God intended us to be with each other. So let's do that. And I just love that coming out of a comic book movie, especially. But yeah, I think Gunn just seems to know like what makes his character and comic book movies in general so appealing, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for the DCU. I mean, he's expressed that he's looking for every project to kind of be different in tone so that when they all inevitably collide, it's just going to be that much more exciting to see how each character interacts with another, especially this universe's Batman, whomever that may be, with David Cornsweet Superman. It's going to be really like night and day. So I think that's really, really cool. I'm here for this 10-year plan that they've got going on. I can't wait for Lanterns and Supergirl next year, like I mentioned. And yes, as a non fan of the first season, I'm also hyped for season 2 of Peacemaker next month. Um, James Gunn's earned my trust. Not that that means a whole lot, but I mean, as a fan, I mean, I think that was kind of his goal, was to earn back the trust of not only DC fans but just comic book movie fans in general, who had a bad taste in their mouth from what Warner Brothers did with the whole DC regime and how they treated Henry Cavill and 86 in Ben Affleck's movie to make Robert Pattinson. Like it was a lot of chess pieces moving that there was never quite a checkmate, and now I think James Gunn kind of has that clean slate to be able to do that. So I am really hyped for it, and all the overwhelmingly positive buzz for this movie just kind of proves that he's earned the trust of millions of others as well. So yeah, Superman, 9 out of 10. I mean, this movie just kind of did it for me. But that's it for my spoiler review, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment letting me know what you thought about Superman. All your thoughts. Did you love it, hate it? Have you seen it? Have you not seen it yet? If you haven't, go watch it. Do you think it's just okay? And all that stuff. And let me know how excited you are for the future of the DCU. Are you as hyped as I am? Probably not, because I'm like diehard DC. But hey, if you are, cool, let's talk about it. I'm so curious to hear what you guys think. Make sure you like and share this video too, so others can join in on the conversation. This YouTube stuff and TikTok, whatever, like just video making in general, is super fun. I'm really excited to do more DC content, comic book movie content, just movie content in general for you guys. So you know, all that fun stuff. I'm like out of words because I'm super tired. It's like 1 a.m. right now. I just had to get this off my chest. But yeah, stay tuned, guys. Until next time, take care. God bless.